Deep inside the fortress, Brother Titus sleeps, a warrior built for war, resting peacefully before another day of violence. For now, the galaxy can wait. The alarm breaks the silence. Brother Titus wakes with a start. For a moment, even a space marine looks like he would rather stay in bed. But duty calls. The day begins with armor. Piece by piece, Titus prepares for war. For him, this is nothing more than a morning routine, even if the armor weighs more than most men. Fully armored, Brother Titus stands ready. His bolter is secured. His helmet is sealed. Another day of war is about to begin. Titus leaves his barracks. Around him, ordinary humans stop and stare. To Titus, it's just another morning. To them, it's a giant walking weapon. Titus walks deeper into the fortress. Workers continue their morning routines around him. One man freezes as Titus passes. Titus doesn't even notice. For him, this is completely normal. Titus arrives at the mess hall. Hundreds of soldiers are eating breakfast. Then they notice him. One by one, the room goes quiet. Titus simply walks in. Breakfast, apparently, is still part of the mission. Breakfast in the Imperium is simple. Very simple. Titus stares at his meal. A tiny ration, some nutrient paste, and a cup. For a warrior built like a tank, the portion is almost insulting. Apparently, Titus had a complaint. The tiny breakfast is gone. Now, there's enough food in front of him to feed an entire squad. The cafeteria worker looks exhausted. Titus simply nods. Much better. Now that's breakfast. Titus eats calmly, one enormous ration at a time. Around him, everyone carries on eating. For a space marine, this is just a normal morning meal. Breakfast is over. Now comes the part of the morning that actually hurts. Training. Titus heads toward the training halls. Because in the Imperium, being a space marine is never enough. You must always be ready for war. This is the Space Marine Training Hall. There are no treadmills here, no soft mats, only weights, weapons, and combat machines built for superhuman warriors. Titus steps inside. His training is about to begin. First exercise, push-ups, 100 repetitions. Titus drops to the floor and begins. The armor alone weighs an absurd amount. But for a space marine, that's just the warm-up. Next, strength training. Titus lifts a massive block of solid metal above his head. The floor begins to crack beneath him. The instructor watches without emotion. Then he points to an even bigger weight. Apparently, that was still the warm-up. Strength is only the beginning. Now Titus moves to close combat. Across the arena, another space marine waits. No guns, no distractions. Just armor, steel, and skill. Titus strikes first. His opponent blocks. Steel crashes against steel, sending sparks across the arena. No hesitation, no wasted movement. This is how Space Marines train for war. Titus's opponent strikes back. Titus blocks the blow, but the force drives him backward. For a moment, the advantage is gone. But Titus remains calm. The fight continues. Titus adapts. He closes the distance and redirects his opponent's weapon. One precise move, and the advantage is his again. Training complete. Titus stands victorious. His opponent sits on the floor. The instructor simply makes a note on his clipboard. No celebration. No congratulations. Just another morning at the training hall. Next, bolter training. Titus raises his weapon. He doesn't move. His aim is perfect. Now there's only one thing left to do. Pull the trigger. Fire. The bolter kicks hard. Titus barely moves. The target takes the full impact. For Titus, that's just another shot. Perfect hit. Titus barely reacts. The instructor checks his clipboard, then points to the next target. It's much bigger. Apparently, We're not done yet. The targets start moving, fast. Titus tracks them without moving his body. 3 targets, 3 chances. He waits for the perfect moment. 1 shot, 1 moving target. Perfect hit. Titus doesn't even adjust his stance. The instructor is already looking for the next target. Then the real test begins. Not 1 target, not 2, 5. All moving at different speeds. Titus calmly raises his bolter. For a normal soldier, this would be chaos. For a space marine, it's just another morning. And just like that, the marksmanship drill is over. Every target hit, every shot accounted for. The instructor gives Titus a single nod. For a space marine, that's basically a standing ovation. The shooting is over, but Titus's training isn't. Next up, the obstacle course. Walls, trenches, chains, and enough heavy machinery to make a normal soldier reconsider his career. Titus takes one look at the course. Then he steps forward. The moment Titus starts running, the obstacle course comes alive. Walls rise, chains swing. Steel barriers move into position. For a normal human, this would be an extreme endurance test. For a space marine, it's cardio. Titus reaches the first obstacle. A wall taller than most buildings stands in his path. He doesn't slow down. He doesn't climb it. He simply runs straight toward it and jumps. Titus lands on the other side. The impact shakes the platform beneath him. Most soldiers would take a moment to recover. Titus doesn't. There is already another obstacle waiting, and this one is moving. The obstacle swings toward Titus. He ducks beneath it at full speed. Barely a second later, another one comes from the opposite direction. Titus doesn't stop. He simply adjusts his stride and keeps running. The course gets faster, the gaps get wider, and the obstacles stop waiting for Titus. He reaches the edge of the platform, looks down, and jumps. Titus clears the trench. His boots hit the opposite platform with enough force to shake the entire structure. Steam erupts from the pipes around him. He keeps moving, because apparently, stopping is not part of the training. The next obstacle rises from the floor. A massive reinforced barrier. Titus doesn't stop. He lowers his shoulders and charges straight through it. The barrier was built to stop Space Marines. It probably should have been built stronger. The barrier collapses behind him. Titus keeps running. Ahead, a maze of moving steel beams. The beams move faster. Titus slips between them. One misses his helmet by inches. He doesn't slow down. The beams are behind him. Ahead, a massive gate begins to close. Titus accelerates. The final obstacle stands before Titus. 3 massive beams rotate around him. One opening, one chance. Titus waits, then moves. The training is over. Titus leaves the noise behind. Ahead, the halls grow quiet, and something far more sacred awaits. The training is over. Titus stands before the chapel doors. Beyond them, silence, prayer, and duty. Inside the chapel, Titus slows down. The warrior becomes small beneath the towering shrine. For the next few minutes, there is only silence, faith, and duty. Before the shrine, Titus stops. No weapons, no battle, just silence. Even a space marine must kneel before something greater. Titus kneels. The warrior becomes still. Before the emperor, even a space marine bows his head. For a few moments, there is no war, no training, no orders. Just Titus and his faith. The prayer is finished. Titus rises. No hesitation. No celebration. The emperor has been honored. Now, there is work to do. The prayer is over. Titus leaves the chapel. The silence fades behind him. Ahead, the fortress waits. And so does his next duty. The chapel is behind him. Now comes preparation. Weapons checked. Armor ready. Duty comes next. Before the next duty, the armor gets checked. Every plate, every seal, every connection. Because in war, there are no small failures. Armor checked. Now comes ammunition. Titus loads what he'll need. Because when a space marine goes to war, he doesn't pack light. Ammunition, ready. Armor, ready. One final check. Titus inspects his bolter. Because when the first shot matters, there is no room for failure. The weapon is checked. The ammunition is ready. Titus loads the bolter. One final click, and he's ready for whatever comes next. Armor checked. Bolter loaded. Ammunition secured. Titus leaves the armory. The next stop, orders. Because even a space marine needs to know where he's going to die today. Titus enters the briefing chamber. The others are already waiting. No one speaks. At the center of the room, the mission is about to be revealed. The briefing begins. The commander points to the map. Titus listens. No questions, no hesitation. Just orders, and a mission waiting to begin. Then the target is revealed. A heavily fortified industrial fortress. Defenses on every side. Titus studies the map. The mission is clear. Getting there won't be easy. Then the commander points to the entrance. This is your route. Titus studies the narrow passage. One objective. One way in. No room for failure. The orders are given. The plan is set. Now there is only one thing left to do. Move. Titus and his brothers leave the chamber and march toward war. The squad is ready. And now, there is no turning back. Their transport is waiting. The mission begins. The ramp closes behind them. The fortress disappears into darkness. Ahead lies only the battlefield and the mission. Inside the transport, no one speaks. The ramp seals shut. For now, there is nothing left to prepare. Only the long journey to war. The engines roar to life. The fortress falls away beneath them as Titus and his squad ascend into the darkness. The briefing is over. Now, the mission begins. The engines shake the hull as the battlefield draws closer. Their weapons are ready. Their orders are clear. Now, they simply wait for the doors to open. And then, Titus sees it. The fortress from the map stands beyond the smoke. The guns are already firing. The battlefield is close now. Titus rises. Weapons are checked. Ammunition is secured. The ramp remains closed, but not for long. The ramp opens. Cold air rushes in. For the first time, Titus stands face to face with the battlefield. No more maps. No more orders. Only the fortress ahead, and the enemy waiting for them. The squad moves forward. No one speaks. Every step brings Titus closer to the fortress, and closer to the fight they were sent to win. Then Titus sees them. The enemy is waiting in the ruins, guarding the fortress. The squad takes cover. For the first time, the mission is no longer a plan. It is a fight. Then Titus sees them. The enemy is waiting in the ruins, guarding the fortress. The squad takes cover. For the first time, the mission is no longer a plan. It is a fight. The silence ends. Enemy fire tears through the ruins, hammering the ground around Titus. He doesn't flinch. He raises his bolter. Now, it's their turn. The first line was only the beginning. Ahead, a stronger defense blocks their path. Titus studies the barricades in silence. The fortress is getting harder to reach. The second line opens fire. Titus charges straight into the storm, his bolter roaring through the smoke. The squad follows. This time, the enemy is ready for them. The barricade is only meters away. Enemy fire tears across the metal, but Titus holds his position. The squad closes in. One breach stands between them and the fortress. The outer defenses had fallen. But this was no longer a battlefield. This was the fortress itself, and the gate was waiting. The gate stood before them like a mountain of steel and stone. Titus knew there was only one way through. "Take the gatehouse, open the door." The gatehouse erupts into chaos. Titus raises his bolter and fires upward. One position falls silent. The squad follows his lead, clearing the defenses piece by piece. The gate is still closed, but now they have a way in. The gate groaned open, revealing the darkness within. Titus raised his weapon and stepped forward. They had breached the outer defenses, but whatever waited beyond this gate would be far worse. The gate closes behind them. Outside, the battle fades into silence. Inside, every shadow could hide an enemy. Titus raises his bolter and keeps moving. They are no longer attacking the fortress. They are inside it. The fortress was silent. Then something moved in the darkness. Titus raised his weapon. Whatever was ahead was waiting for them. Then they saw them. The fortress defenders had been waiting. Neither side moved. Titus kept the defender pinned from the front. Then the flanks opened fire. Surrounded and outmaneuvered, the enemy line began to break. They had finally reached the fortress's inner chamber. At its center stood something massive and heavily protected. Whatever it was, the enemy clearly did not want anyone getting close. After fighting through the fortress, Titus finally reaches its heart. The core stands before him, massive and still operational. Now there is only one thing left to do: destroy it. Titus begins placing the charges around the fortress core. Every device brings the end one step closer. The squad holds the chamber. Now, they just have to survive long enough to trigger them. The charges are live. The core begins to shake as the fortress starts tearing itself apart. Titus gives the order to withdraw. Now they have only one objective: get out before it all comes down. The fortress is coming down around them. The gate is finally in sight, but the collapse is catching up fast. Titus pushes forward. They're seconds from escape. They made it out. The fortress collapses behind them, but Titus knows it isn't over yet. The charges are still counting down, and the final blast is coming. The fortress is destroyed. The mission is complete. Titus and his squad turn toward the horizon, leaving the ruins behind. But in the grim darkness of the far future, there is never truly an end to the war.